What started as whispers in the Atlanta streets has now exploded into a full-blown emotional storm, and fans are shook. After years of ups, downs, betrayals, and makeups, Kirk Frost has just made the most jaw-dropping move of his reality TV life, just when Rasheeda had finally drawn the line and handed him divorce papers, thinking this roller coaster was over for good. Kirk refused to sign. That's right. In a shocking twist no one saw coming, the same man who once had the whole love and hip-hop world questioning his loyalty is now clinging to his marriage with both hands and begging Rasheeda for one last chance. Sources close to the couple say Kirk showed up unannounced to Rasheeda's boutique, looking nothing like the slick, composed man fans have come to know. He was disheveled, eyes swollen like he hadn't slept in days, and his voice cracked as he said the words that shook Rasheeda and everyone else down to their core. Don't do this. I still believe in us. Let me fix everything. And just like that, the tension exploded. What was supposed to be a quiet exit from a broken marriage has turned into an emotional war zone. Fans are divided. Some are calling it a manipulative move, too little, too late. Others are holding on to hope that maybe, just maybe, this is the redemption arc Kirk's been chasing for years. But what pushed him to this breaking point? Why now, after all the heartbreak, is he refusing to let go? And what does this mean for Rasheeda, who's finally started finding peace outside of Kirk's chaos? As the cameras roll and the social media feeds erupt with reactions, one thing is clear: this drama is far from over. With secrets on the verge of being exposed and emotions running higher than ever, Kirk and Rasheeda's love story has just entered its most unpredictable chapter yet. So grab your tea and get comfortable, because what you're about to hear will leave your jaw on the floor. Coming up, Kirk's desperate plea, Rasheeda's emotional response, and the shocking twist that has even their closest friends questioning everything. This is Kirk refuses divorce, begging Rasheeda for one last chance. Stay tuned. The tension had been simmering for months, a slow, silent burn beneath the surface of carefully curated Instagram posts and public appearances that gave the illusion everything was fine. But anyone who truly followed Kirk and Rasheeda knew the truth: something had shifted, and not in a good way. For weeks, Rasheeda had been seen without her wedding ring, her captions had grown cryptic, and fans noticed the growing emotional distance. Then came the moment everyone had feared, yet somehow expected. Rasheeda served Kirk with divorce papers, quietly, with dignity. Without the explosive energy one might expect from a woman who had endured years of betrayal, infidelity rumors, and public humiliation. No press conferences. No dramatic social media posts. Just a woman who was finally done. But while Rasheeda might have been ready to close the chapter, Kirk Frost clearly had other plans. In an unexpected move, the man known for pushing boundaries and testing patience was now clinging desperately to the very thing he had once taken for granted. Kirk refused to sign the papers. Not only that, he begged. It started on a cloudy Tuesday afternoon when Rasheeda arrived at her boutique to prep for a launch event. She had no idea Kirk would be waiting outside, leaning against his car with a haunted look in his eyes. She paused, clutching her keys tighter, her heart thudding in her chest. He stepped forward slowly, like approaching a wild animal that might bolt. "Rasheeda," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. She didn't respond, just unlocked the door and walked inside. But he followed. "I know you don't want to see me. I know I messed up, but I can't let this happen," he continued, his voice trembling. She spun around. "You messed up," she repeated, disbelief etched into every word. "Kirk, you didn't just mess up, you wrecked us." "You wrecked me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She had cried enough for this man to fill oceans. Kirk dropped to the chair by the entrance, burying his face in his hands. "I've been up every night thinking about everything. All the ways I took you for granted, the way you always held me down even when I didn't deserve it." Rasheeda crossed her arms, the walls around her heart fortified by years of emotional bruising. "Why now?" she asked, Why after everything, after the baby scandal, the lies, the distance too? You suddenly want to fight for this marriage? Kirk looked up, eyes bloodshot, because I saw what my life looks like without you. And it's empty. It's meaningless. But Rasheeda was unmoved. You don't get to choose when this matters to you. You don't get to show up now, after. I finally found peace. Kirk stood slowly. I'm not here to disrupt your peace. I'm here to earn back your trust. I'll go to therapy. I'll be the man you needed 10 years ago. Please, just give me one last chance. His voice cracked, and this time, there was no performance in it, just raw desperation. Rasheeda hesitated, her heart in conflict with her mind. She had spent years building a brand, a family, and an identity that too often revolved around cleaning up Kirk's messes. Could she trust him again? Before she could answer, the door chimed. Their son, Key, stepped in freezing when he saw both his parents. Mid-showdown. Bad time, he asked, trying to lighten the mood. Kirk wiped his face quickly and forced a smile. Nah, we're just talking. Key glanced at his mother. You okay? Rasheeda nodded slowly, though the truth was more complicated. After Key left, Kirk sighed deeply. Even he notices it, the tension, the distance. This ain't just about us anymore. It's about our whole family. I don't want to tear that apart. And just like that, the emotional burden intensified. Because no matter how angry Rasheeda was, she couldn't deny the gravity of what was at stake. Their children, their legacy, their businesses. This wasn't just a love story gone sour, it was an empire threatening to collapse. Kirk's refusal to sign the divorce papers had already delayed the legal process. Rasheeda's attorney had advised her to take it to court, force the hand, make it public. But that's what she dreaded. More spectacle, more drama, more pain. That night, Rasheeda found herself lying awake, staring at the ceiling of their now separate bedrooms. She remembered the early days, the laughter, the hustle, the grind they built together. Was it all gone? Was Kirk's plea sincere? Or just another chapter in a cycle that never truly ended? She needed clarity, answers, peace. But peace was hard to find when the man you once loved now stands at your emotional doorstep, begging for redemption. The next morning, the news had already spread. Blogs picked up on Kirk's refusal to sign. Headlines screamed Kirk Frost blocks divorce, wants Rasheeda back. Social media exploded. Some fans expressed support for a reconciliation. Others were livid, calling Kirk manipulative and emotionally abusive. He's only fighting now that she's strong enough to walk away, one commenter wrote. Another said, classic narcissist move, don't let her go, but never change either. Even their close friends were split. Carly Redd reached out privately, telling Rasheeda, don't fall for the drama, sis. You deserve better. Meanwhile, Yanni Smith posted a cryptic quote to her Instagram story. Sometimes love is about who shows up when it matters most. Fans speculated it was about Kirk. Rasheeda, overwhelmed by it all, turned her phone off, but Kirk wasn't done. That afternoon, he arranged a private dinner at the same restaurant where he first proposed. He told the staff it was urgent, romantic, but respectful. Candles, soft jazz, and a table for two. Rasheeda arrived late, not out of disrespect, but out of uncertainty. She walked in, saw Kirk standing awkwardly in a blazer he hadn't worn in years, and for a brief second, something flickered in her eyes. Not love, not yet, but nostalgia. A dangerous emotion. As they sat, Kirk didn't waste time. I know. This doesn't fix things, he began, but I need you to know that I remember everything. I remember how you carried me when we had nothing, how you gave up your dreams to support mine. I let you down. I know that, but I've changed. I want to be worthy of you now. Rasheeda stayed silent, sipping her wine, measuring his words. You say you've changed, she finally said, but change isn't just words. Kirk, it's action. It's consistency. It's being there when no one's watching. Kirk nodded. Then let me prove it. Not just for a day or a week, but for the rest of our lives. And just as the night began to soften, Kirk dropped another unexpected bombshell. I've been seeing a therapist 3 times a week. I started before you even gave me the papers. I knew something had to change. And not just for you, for me. Rasheeda blinked, caught off guard. Kirk, therapy, that wasn't in his playbook. Or was it just another play? He continued, I've been unpacking my childhood, my fears, my need for validation. I'm not proud of the man I was, but I'm proud of who I'm becoming. The dinner ended without a decision, but with a promise. Rasheeda agreed to think, to give space not to the marriage, but to her thoughts. The next move wouldn't be rushed. But Kirk knew this was his shot, maybe his only one. And he wasn't letting go without a fight. Kirk watched Rasheeda walk out of the restaurant, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor, her posture poised yet unreadable. He didn't follow her. Not this time. He knew better. The old Kirk would have chased her down, but louder, tried to control the outcome. But this version, the one who had been sitting through hours of therapy, confronting uncomfortable truths, knew that control was the very thing that had driven her. Away, outside, Rasheeda sat in her car with the engine off. Her hand lingered on the steering wheel, and her thoughts spiraled. Why now? Why was he suddenly doing everything she had prayed for years ago? The therapy, the accountability, the remorse, it all felt too late, and yet something inside her wasn't completely immune. It wasn't trust, it wasn't love, it was something closer to unfinished business, the ache that comes when you've built your life with someone and suddenly imagine tearing it all down. She drove off into the night, headlights cutting through her doubts. The next day, Rasheeda met with her lawyer. The room was cold, clinical, nothing like the emotional chaos she'd just come from. He's refusing to sign, her attorney asked. Rasheeda nodded. We can force his hand, the lawyer added. It'll be messy, but you can be free. That word free echoed in Rasheeda's mind. She had imagined freedom as peace, as quiet, as healing. But what if it came with more destruction first? What if walking away broke more than it mended? Still, her heart reminded her, hadn't she suffered enough? Meanwhile, Kirk was already making his next move. He knew words weren't enough anymore. He had to show up differently. So he did what no one expected. He walked into the Love and Hip Hop producer's office and asked them to put the cameras away. If this is gonna work, he told them, it needs to be real. No drama for the show. No fake scenes, just us. The producers were stunned. Kirk, Mr. Reality Drama himself, was turning down airtime. This wasn't part of the script, but he didn't care. He was rewriting everything now. In the days that followed, Kirk reached out to Rasheeda's family one by one. Her mother, Miss Shirlene, was the first. She had never held her tongue about Kirk. Over Sunday tea, he showed up at her house, hands trembling as he knocked. When she opened the door, her eyes narrowed. Boy, you got some nerve, she snapped. But Kirk didn't flinch. I know, he said. I deserve every word you've ever thrown at me. I just want to talk. She let him in grudgingly. For the next hour, Kirk sat across from the woman who had watched him fail Rasheeda time and time again. I don't want to hurt her anymore, he said. I want to become someone who actually deserves her. Miss Shirlene leaned forward, arms crossed. You had 20 damn years to figure that out. Kirk nodded, and I wasted too much of it. But if there's a shot, any shot that she let me try again, I want to take it. Elsewhere, Rasheeda was trying to distract herself with work, pouring energy into her boutique, her skincare line, her music. But nothing felt focused. Her staff noticed. She was quieter, more distant. When her assistant asked, "Is everything okay with Kirk?" she simply replied, "He's trying. I just don't know if I care anymore." That was the truth of it. When you spend years begging someone to change, and they finally do after you've stopped waiting, it doesn't always feel like healing. Sometimes it just feels like salt on the wound. Then came the next twist. Jasmine, yes. That Jasmine, the woman Kirk had a child with during one of their darkest periods, posted a video on TikTok that sent fans into a frenzy. She was seen holding baby Cannon and talking about men who try to become saints when they feel their world slipping. Though she didn't name names, everyone knew who she was talking about. Rasheeda saw the video late that night. It stung not because of jealousy or rage, but because it reminded her how public her pain had always been. Her entire love life had been picked apart, analyzed, mocked. The idea of even considering Kirk again felt humiliating in front of a world that had begged her to walk away years ago. But the internet is never silent. As fans dissected every move, support began flooding in from unexpected corners. Some followers posted throwback clips of the couple's early years, calling them unbreakable. Others wrote, "If he's really trying, why not see?" And then there were the haters. "Don't be dumb, Rasheeda. He's just playing victim again. It's always manipulation in a nicer package." One particular comment stuck. In Rasheeda's mind, healing doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes it means forgiving and walking away. That night, she cried not out of pain, but out of exhaustion. Loving Kirk had been a marathon. She was tired of bleeding for love. The next morning, Rasheeda got an envelope hand-delivered, no name on the front, just her address. Inside was a letter in Kirk's handwriting, not a text, not ADM, a real letter. 3 pages, raw, emotional, and handwritten. He wrote about the first time he saw her performing on stage, the first night they dreamed about building an empire, how he still remembered the smell of the hospital room when their first son was born. He admitted, in painful detail, every time he had betrayed her, failed her, broken the promises he made. And then came the final paragraph. "If loving you from a distance is what brings you peace, I'll learn to do that. But if there's even a tiny part of you that believes we're not done, I'll wait, as long as it takes." Rasheeda didn't respond right away. She folded the letter and placed it in her drawer under her invoices and contracts. She went about her day, checking shipments, handling a store refund, smiling at customers. But the letter weighed on her like a secret. That night, she dreamed of Kirk, not the present-day one, but the younger version, the one who used to rap about their future while she laughed in the studio. In the dream, he handed her a key. She didn't ask what it opened, she just took it. And then the storm hit. Literally, Atlanta was battered by unexpected winds and flooding, and Kirk and Rasheeda's youngest son, Carter, got stuck at school when the roads closed. Kirk was the first to make it there. He got Carter, drove through blocked roads, and showed up at Rasheeda's house, drenched, holding their shivering child. She opened the door, eyes wide. "You got him?" she asked. Kirk, soaked and shivering, nodded. "He's safe." That night, Kirk didn't leave. Not because he asked to stay, but because Carter begged, "Please don't go. Daddy, I want you both here." Rasheeda agreed just for the night. They sat in silence after putting Carter to bed, wrapped in blankets, sipping hot tea. No words, no drama, just two people who had built a kingdom on shaky ground, trying to figure out if it was worth rebuilding. And somewhere in that silence, something shifted, not resolution, but the tiniest glimmer of possibility dot the silence. Between them stretched thin as the rain tapped against the windows, creating a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat, slow, unsure, and steady. Kirk sat hunched over on one end of the couch, a mug of untouched tea cooling in his hands. Rasheeda sat across from him, eyes flickering from the fireplace to the man she had once trusted with everything. The air was thick with unspoken words, not the explosive kind, but the ones laced with grief, memory, and longing. There was no yelling tonight, no accusations. Just quiet truths clawing at the walls of their chests. Carter's room upstairs had gone quiet too, his soft snores barely audible over the hum of the storm, as if even he knew tonight was sacred. "I didn't plan that," Kirk said softly, breaking the silence. I didn't plan to show up like some hero. Rasheeda looked at him, her eyes tired but not unkind. I know, she replied. You didn't have to say yes when the school called either. Kirk's lips twitched into a barely there smile. He needed me, and I needed something to remind me I could still show up for somebody. There it was, his guilt spilling out in gentle waves. I'm not trying to earn points, Rasheeda. I'm just trying to remember how to be a man. Worth anything. Her gaze didn't shift. It's just sad that it took almost losing everything for you to try. Her words weren't sharp. They didn't come from a place of bitterness, but from exhaustion, the kind that only comes after carrying the weight of a love that constantly threatened to break her back. Kirk nodded. I know. I should have come to this place years ago. When you were crying in the dark, asking me to come home. When I was chasing validation in all the wrong places. When I saw your strength and mistook it as an excuse to be weak. A single tear slipped down Rasheeda's cheek before she wiped it away quickly, as if embarrassed by her own vulnerability. You know what scares me the most, she whispered. That you might really be changing, and I'm already too far. Gone to care. That hit Kirk like a slap. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, pain etched across his face. I'll live with that if I have to. But I won't stop trying. For the first time in years, Rasheeda didn't know how to respond. She just stared into the fire, unsure whether it was warming her or burning her from the inside out. The next morning came fast. Carter ran into their room and jumped on the bed, laughing, innocent. It's like the old days, he beamed. Kirk and Rasheeda exchanged a look, bittersweet, familiar, dangerous. She got up first, pulling on her robe. Let's not confuse nostalgia with healing, she muttered to herself, careful not to let Kirk hear. But the world outside their home had already caught up. News had spread of Kirk's overnight stay. A neighbor posted a blurry photo of his car in the driveway. Within hours, blogs were ablaze again. Kirk and Rasheeda back together. Kirk sleeps over as the divorce OFF. The frenzy was back. Rasheeda's phone blew up. Carly Red called. Girl, what is going on? Rasheeda sighed. He brought Carter home during the storm. He stayed. That's it. Carly wasn't convinced. That man's a master manipulator. You better not be falling for his good daddy act. But Rasheeda wasn't falling for anything. If anything, she was sinking in confusion. Back at Frost Bistro, the staff noticed Kirk had a new energy. He showed up on time, checked in with the team. Didn't flirt, didn't disappear. One waitress whispered to another, you think he's serious this time? Another replied, I don't know, but he's acting like a man who knows he's on his last life. Even their daughter, Key, picked up on the shift. Mom, she said over breakfast, you know he's different, right? He's like, calmer. Rasheeda raised an eyebrow. Different doesn't always mean better. Sometimes it just means different. Still, she couldn't ignore how Kirk was moving lately. Less bravado, more humility, less performance. More presence. Then came the next twist, one that Rasheeda didn't see coming. During a business meeting at her store, one of her former collaborators brought up a tabloid rumor that Kirk had quietly bought a second property in their old neighborhood. Rasheeda's heart skipped. Wait, what? She asked, trying to mask her reaction. That night, she asked him. Kirk looked surprised but didn't deny it. Yeah, he said simply, it's a rental now. But I bought it because it reminded me of where we started. It's where we dreamed, where we struggled. I wanted something real to remind me why I'm fighting. She stared at him. You did all that without telling me? He nodded. Because this time, I didn't want it to be about gestures. I wanted it to be about accountability. That night, Rasheeda found herself driving to the old house she parked in front, memories flooding her. Their first Christmas, the broken faucet, the time Kirk forgot her birthday and came home with a mixtape full of love songs. She sat there for almost an hour, tears quietly rolling down her cheeks. Back at home, Kirk was reading to Carter when his phone buzzed. It was Rasheeda. I went to the house. Her message read, "I remember everything too. No emoji, no LOL, just raw truth." It was the first time in weeks that Kirk felt something crack open hope, but fragile. Like glass under pressure, the days that followed weren't perfect. Rasheeda still kept her distance emotionally. She didn't post any photos of Kirk, didn't say anything publicly. But she didn't file a motion to force the divorce either, and Kirk didn't press. Instead, he focused on healing, on therapy, on rebuilding trust not through words, but through action. One afternoon, they ended up alone again after a joint meeting at the restaurant. As they walked out, Kirk stopped her. "There's one thing I haven't said," he began. Rasheeda looked at him warily. What now? He took a deep breath. "I forgive you too." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me," he nodded. "I forgive you. For staying with me when you should have left. For sacrificing your peace to keep the family together. I forgive you for carrying all the weight while I acted like I had it all together. You didn't deserve that burden." For the first time, Rasheeda didn't have a response. Her throat tightened, but this time it wasn't from anger, it was from being seen. And in that strange moment, amidst years of emotional wreckage, something quiet and sacred emerged. Not a resolution, but a reckoning. They weren't who they once were, and maybe they never would be again. But they were finally looking each other in the eye, without the fog of ego or shame. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something real. The look in Rasheeda's eyes said everything Kirk had been waiting to see. Not forgiveness, not love, not even softness, but awareness. Real, unfiltered awareness that he finally understood the depth of her pain. That acknowledgement, though long overdue, landed heavier than any apology. She didn't say a word as she stepped into her car and drove away, leaving Kirk standing on the sidewalk outside the restaurant, a man half redeemed, half lost. He didn't chase her. He didn't text. He just stood there, watching her tail lights vanish into traffic, and wondered whether this was the end of a chapter or the beginning of one. That night, Rasheeda couldn't sleep again, but it wasn't the same kind of restlessness. It wasn't rage or heartbreak. It was the kind of ache you feel when the armor starts to crack and you don't know whether to fight or surrender. She replayed Kirk's words in her head. "I forgive